if I can, I'm going to take you back to 2000, not to the game just yet, but when you rejoined the club from Swindon, which I believe was, I think, 1st or 2nd of Jan of 2000.
Yeah.
Going back to a club which you knew and knew well, was it a bit of a no-brainer at the time, or was it a bit more complex than it sounded?
No, it was actually probably a bit more complex. The fact is, I'd moved the family down to Bristol 2 years ago, 18 months ago. So we actually settled, you know, I had the kids at the time in school. My wife at the time was working in the local hospital as a midwife. So in terms of the family, everything was fine. I know a lot of people don't see things like that, but your family life's important to you, and we were quite settled. But obviously, Swindon's financial circumstances meant they had to look to sell players, and myself and Ty Gooden at the time were obviously coveted by Gills. And then on the other hand, they had the old notion of don't go back. It was quite a nice time when I was there the first time. So I just didn't want to think, oh, I've gone back, and I thought I always had a strong relationship with the fans. So you almost don't want to go back and tarnish that to some degree. But anyway, be there as it may, it all worked out, and I've got to say my second spell was equally as enjoyable, if not more, than the first. So
there was perhaps a slight apprehension in your mind as to whether to go back or not, but I guess on reflection, probably one of your best decisions.
Yeah, because I mean, let's face it, I'd actually spoken to the guys. They might not remember us, but I'd actually spoken to the guys after the playoff final defeat by Man City, the one no Gills fan I'll never forget.
Yeah.
They were in. I think I can't remember where it was, but I rang a couple of them in the hotel after the game or before the game, and I know. And then so basically, I kept in touch with them. I think's what I'm saying, and it was just obviously that, you know, there'd been little change in personnel between obviously Tony Pulis leaving and Peter Taylor coming in. So I knew all the guys, so that made settling in easier. And you know, I did speak to one of the two of the guys, and they're saying, "Oh no, we're playing about it. We're playing the ball a little bit more now. You'll love it with Peter." So in the end, despite maybe some initial apprehensions, it looked, and of course, because there was the prospect of promotion, already well placed in the division as well in a cup run, even though I couldn't take part in the cup run. And I met Peter. I'd met him once before, and I'd spoken to Peter, and yeah, in the end, I put those kind of apprehensions to one side, and you got to go with your gut, and that was the good decision. And yeah, pleased I did.
On arriving back for your second spell, did you notice any of the players maybe a hangover effect from that Man City game, or would too much time pass for that to be really a problem?
Yeah, I think maybe it'd come back earlier, you know, in the autumn perhaps. But by the time we come January, you're into it. Like I say, I hope that the team are going well. They were in the middle of a good cup run. I think they would go on to play Sheffield Wednesday. But the team are going well. I think the playoff position around that time then. So there's a bit of a buzz around the place again. I think Peter would galvanise the team again. So yeah, no hangover at all.
You knew a lot of the players as well, so that must have helped. It wasn't as if you were walking into a dressing room where you knew nobody. You knew Andy Hessenthaler, you knew Nicky Southall, Harry Ashby, Adi Pennock. I could build them off. So I suppose from that point of view, your decision was made slightly easier.
Yeah, the core of the team was pretty much the same. Like you said, all the guys you mentioned, Ash, Guy Butters, Adi Pennock, good characters as well, I've got to say. You know, I enjoyed my time with them. They were all good characters, maybe all of the same age, so we all kind of had that respect and togetherness as well. So that you couldn't underestimate those kind of things. There were one or two new faces. I think Tomo was there. A couple more came afterwards, and Rodney Rowe, who actually I was friends with from Huddersfield days, so that was nice to see Rodney. So no, that was a no-brainer in terms of the personnel.
I think you scored 7 goals before the playoff final itself, including one against Stoke in the semi-final. I wasn't at the game myself, but by all accounts, an incredible atmosphere. Where does that rank in terms of your crowd was played in front of and the atmosphere that was generated?
I mean, I think both games with Stoke were just unbelievable. Funny enough, I saw the clips, the match highlights from the. It was placed on Facebook, and I saw the match highlights from the game, the first playoff game at the New Britannia, and it was just new then. And I had to remind myself we were 2-0 down within 5-10 minutes, and we'd gone 1-0 down within about 30 seconds. And you know what? Having put so much into the season, we actually came third. We just missed out. And then at that time, I'm sure to fans, it looked like we'd thrown it away, 2-0 down. So the manoeuvres coming back, we rallied in the second half. Still probably weren't at our best, but we definitely rallied. They went 3-1 up, and you look like you were going to be up against it a little bit in the second leg. And then Hesse scored that wonder goal. And that just changed the whole dynamic of the tie. You know, no matter how you dressed it up to the Stoke players and fans, they'd have been thinking you got one foot in on the pitch at Wembley, and there's such a deflating moment for them, such a massive moment for us in terms of our morale. I still said he should have passed it to me, by the way, but I think that changed the dynamic of the tie. Then went to Priestfield, never seen an atmosphere like it. You know, we used to come in on the corner of the pitch, and all the pyrotechnics going. Every part of the ground was filled, and it was such a tight atmosphere. And even though we won, I think it was 3-0 in the end, that doesn't tell the whole story. They went a man down. I've got a slight confession to make. I came back from a corner, and they headed the ball, and instinctively I've done that, and I think now that would be a penalty and probably a red card. But it came off the line. They appealed. Nothing happened. So you know,
it was never handball.
Never handball. Exactly. Never. Yeah. So I think we had some breaks in that play. I still remember even at 2-0. I think they went through and hit the post, and that would have taken them through to either extra time or penalties. So it was still quite knife-edge-ish until I think Paul Smith scored the final goal. And I managed to score, missed a couple of chances in the 90 minutes and scored in extra time as well. So there's some big moments in that game, actually, that all went our way. But over the two legs, you know, what a tie. What an occasion.
Just going back to the first leg, you mentioned the goal from Andy Hessenthaler. Going back to the dressing room, even though you lost 3-2, was the atmosphere in the dressing room like, well, it's almost like we've won the game?
Yeah, I always remember Peter Taylor saying, he stood up and said, listen, guys, I'd have taken 3-1 back at our place. I'd have had to take 3-1, you know, blah, blah, blah. Now, whether he was saying that and he meant it, I'm sure he was, but maybe working on the psychology as well. And I think we all knew it was a big moment, massive moment in the tie. And yeah, we would have had to, if things had turned out differently, we'd have had to go into the second leg 3-1, and who knows, you might have still got through. But like I say, it turned things massively in our favour. Priestfield was never an easy place for any team to go to. Like I said, massive change in circumstances.
So let's get to Wembley then, that memorable final.
Yes.
The night before, how did you sleep?
Okay, I think. Yeah, okay. It was, you know, we were quite relaxed going into it. I think Peter trusted us. So there was no everyone in the beds at 9 o'clock. I still remember sitting down chatting till, you know, 10ish. And that's, you know, you want that because there's a lot of nervous energy. People are thinking, you're thinking about your game. You've replayed the game in your mind already about half a dozen times since then. Every replaying of the game, you scored a hat-trick as well in the game. So you just want the game to come to you, really. You're waiting for it, and then the pre-match ritual on the day, your breakfast, your walk, and travelling to the stadium, and all the Gills fans en route and at the stadium.
It probably seems like ages for the game to start.
Yeah, it is. And even the week leading up to it, I mean, I think Peter named the side. I can't even remember when he named the side. And even though I'd been in good form leading up to the game, there's still that little nervousness. What if he changes it all around? What if, you know, but he didn't. And I was in the team, and you could relax a little bit knowing you're starting, and you can just start to, you know, think about your game.
Of course, you started up front with Carl Saba. What sort of strike partner was he? Of course, he was prolific himself, but in terms of your relationship and understanding up front, regards to other partners you had, where does he sit?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a good question, Phil. I look back at some of the top strike partners, even from the early days at Huddersfield with Ewan Roberts, and then at Gills with Stevie Butler, Adi Akinbai, Carl, Georgian Darts. I kind of, I think they're nice to think back in memory because not one of them partnerships had anything less than good potential in them. There were days when, of course, when it didn't work, but we had good understanding. I think I could adjust my time a little bit, my game a little bit to suit them, and vice versa. And I almost forgot Marlon King as well. I enjoyed my time with Marlon as well later on in my career. So I'm quite pleased about it. And Carl was definitely one of them. I think he was a bit more quicker, and he liked getting in behind. At that point, I was getting to 30 and probably easier getting into ball into feet. So that dovetailed well. But Carl was a strong, powerful guy as well. And yeah, I enjoyed my time with him.
And of course, he provided the cross for your goal. Some put it down as an own goal. I spoke to Andy yesterday, and he said, no, you can't give that as an own goal. It's Iffy's goal. Tell him it's his goal, and he's owed a goal bonus for it.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Tom. No, it was my only mistake, really. And, it looks quite naive now looking back. Is not jumping around and celebrating. And the only reason it didn't...
You tangled on the floor, didn't you?
Yeah, I tangled on the floor, and the goalkeeper was a lad, I've forgotten his name, Scottish boy. And the reason I know that, because he turned up, and he turned up at one of my, where did he go to? Was he at Gillingham?
He was for a while, yes.
Yeah. So he reminded me of it when we met up a few years later. But so the only reason I kind of didn't jump up and celebrate was because actually when we started the game, it was just a little bit flat. We hadn't quite hit our rhythm, and maybe there's still some nerves about. So I was quite in the moment. In scoring a goal is a little bit like it's a bit like one of the moments where you lose your mind for that split second. But I was still very much in the moment, trying to get the game and trying to work all that out. And and like I said, I was still in it when we scored. So I didn't quite celebrate. So I didn't quite express myself and lose that moment of control straight away. And that's probably what cost me my goal bonus. Yeah.
Did you think, obviously the replays proved the ball did cross the line, but at the time, did you think it had gone across the line?
I didn't know, to be honest, Phil. I mean, again, that's another thing. The first thing you do really is celebrate, just to take, without VAR. The first thing you do is celebrate just to influence the officials if they need influence. I think people did around me, to be fair, but like I said, and I work with referees now, and sometimes if they're not sure, they'll admit they go and play a reaction. So potentially I might have scuppered my own goal. So yeah, I think people knew around me that I accelerated, and my reaction was just literally, come on, let's get into this game. In my head, I saw the game. I saw us getting into the game in good form. We could play around and all that. And we hadn't quite done that in the early part of the game.
So if the first half belonged to us, certainly from a scoreline perspective, the second half belonged to Wigan and forced extra time. Do you recall anything that Peter Taylor said before extra time started, or what the mood of the players was, particularly because you've been forced to extra time against Stoke?
I can't remember a thing Peter said. I'll be absolutely honest.
That's what Andy said, actually.
Yeah, that's nothing against Peter. I love Peter and all that, but I cannot remember a thing. I remember Simon. Oh, I've forgotten his name. Simon, tall striker from Tranmere, bumped into a few years later. He scored the equaliser.
Simon Hayworth.
And Simon Hayworth, yeah, that was it. And then the little Stuart Barlow, did he score the second?
The pen.
The pen, yeah. So yeah, that and I can't remember which order, but I always remember him flicking this ball. It was a really tidy finish, actually. He flicked it outside of his foot and looped over Vinny. And at that point, because the longer the game goes on, you just think, listen, it hasn't been fluent, but 1-0 might just do enough. We were quite strong defensively, and 1-0 might just do us. And then obviously Simon's, I think, was it Andy scored? Was Barlow scored the equaliser or
Hayworth scored the equaliser.
Hayworth scored the equaliser, and then Barry Ashby, I think, tripped someone in the box, gave away the penalty.
I think he did, yeah, which was put away fairly well.
And then put away. So then you're thinking, oh no, here we go again. And I think I came off in the second period, and Barry Ashby came off. I do remember sitting next to Ash on the bench and not saying anything to each other much, or if he did, I don't recall it. Then obviously the goal, but Stevie Butler equalised. Thomas scored the next, and I remember spending the next 10 minutes in like excited school kid with Ash, saying how far we were going to run onto the pitch, and when as soon as the referee blows the whistle.
So a 2-1. Obviously, Wigan have only got, I think, 5 or 6 minutes from memory to see it out. So when we did make it 2-2, on the bench, are you secretly thinking, right, okay, we have to go to pens?
Well, again, you talk about momentum in games. The momentum was back with us then, wasn't it? Once you go 2-2, Peter had made some good changes, some good substitutions. We were getting some good width. I think Ty put the ball in for Tomo's got a goal in the end, and I thought we'd reasserted some control from the hazy memories. We'd reasserted some control, and no one wants penalties, of course. So, and I don't know whether our equaliser again had deflated Wigan again, but I think whenever you score a goal, whatever, and you come back on level terms, and don't forget we had all the fans on our side making a lot of noise by then. So the last 5 minutes just probably that probably helped us as much with the fans getting us over the line, and tiredness plays a role. There were certainly more gaps popping up. I thought Wigan had defended quite well up to that point, and certainly kept me and Carl reasonably tight. Albeit we had a couple of good moments, but a few gaps started to appear, and obviously we exploited them.
Let's talk about the winning goal then, because it came with just a couple of minutes delay. Ty Gooden whips the cross in, and being a centre forward, do you go in for the header as well on the bench, saying just get on the end of it, we'll get a touch?
I think I probably did. I probably did the old neck muscles. Yeah, and Tomo was a good finisher. He was a good finisher, Tomo. Anything in and around the box, he could snaffle a chance. He was good in that, good predatory sense. And he made a great connection, took the pace off the cross, and then just guided into the corner. And from then on, I can't even remember the memories. There was just the whole bench went up, and we were running everywhere for the time being. Just had to see out the last few minutes. But unbelievable last 5 minutes of the game.
You played a lot of games in your career. In terms of importance and memories, where does that Wigan game sit for you in the back of your mind?
Yeah, I'd say even going back to what we said about the Stoke game, was, when you get to the playoffs, it's like a little mini league then. For those 3 games, obviously we couldn't have got to Wembley without beating Stoke over the 2 legs. So those 3 games as a whole were probably the most enjoyable. There was relief definitely, but enjoyable roller coaster. It probably encapsulated your whole footballer career. I always thought to young players now, your career is never like that. There's ups and downs and zigs, and that over the course of those 3 games had everything. You start badly away at Stoke. You think you're on your way out already, and you rally, you come back, but you're still staring down the barrel. And like I said, Hesse scores the goal. You're back again. You're equilibrium. You got momentum. You win at the home leg, albeit not as straightforward as it looks. You get to Wembley, you're winning, you're losing. Everything you want in it, everything you kind of sums up football was in those 3 games. So yeah, unbelievable high, and massively the highlight of my career. I got promotion later on, almost my final game as a professional with Huddersfield. I was kind of on the fringes. I played the second leg against Lincoln. Played both legs in this against Lincoln, but didn't play in the final. which is disappointing from a personal point of view, but there you go. So really, yeah, the Gills one was a massive part of my career.
We mentioned Peter Taylor throughout our talk. How important was he to the squad? Because, of course, a lot of fans say, well, he inherited the squad from the previous year. But actually, he had to galvanise the squad to get over that playoff final defeat to Man City. And whenever we look down and out, i.e. Stoke away, we seem to find a way to get through. How important was his managerial approach for us going up?
People, such a strong group of players, all experienced players as well, strong dressing room. So, you know, I think you underestimate that's not an easy thing to do. And I thought he did it really well, Peter. He was the kind of manager you want to play for on a one-to-one basis. You liked him. He had an edge to him, by the way, as well. Some people probably don't always see that. He could lose it a little bit at times. But every manager's like that. That's part and parcel. But you know, I liked his coaching as well. He was a good coach to the team, as Tony had been, albeit in a slightly different style. So we enjoyed playing for him. I know I did. Enjoyed playing for him. So, and you know, people say, "Oh, we had a good squad," but the big moments are what define managers, and he made the subs at right times. He had big calls to make. I know he left Paul Smith out at the final, which was, I know I spoke to Paul many years later. I think that was really, really upsetting from his point of view. And I've been there since, so I know what that feels like. So, you know, those big calls you've got to make on a human level and on a tactical level, they're not easy. And I thought Peter did them, you know, and wasn't afraid to do them.
Just finally, when you reflect on your career as a whole, your two spells with Gills, I mean, there's a lot of fans that worship you and say, remember the good old days of Iffy Onuora and his goal against Coventry and scoring in the playoff final. Just how fondly do you recall your moments at Priestfield?
Yeah, I think really, and even go back to the first time I signed at Gills. A lot of people told me not to. I was living in Leeds. I was based in the north. I hadn't played down south. I went down to speak to Peter. I went down to visit. Financially, I've got to say, the deal wasn't fantastic. But I'd just come off 2 years of up and down with injuries at Mansfield, and I thought my career needed a reboot. And it would have been the easiest thing to stay with Mansfield, with Andy King, God rest his soul, as someone I knew and liked. But I just felt that I spoke about it and went away. And when I went back, I thought, no, I'm not going to sign. But I just thought about it for another 24 hours. I spoke to Wayne Jones again, who was the physio at the time, and me and Wayne went back a long time from Huddersfield days. And I just thought about it again, and I knew it was going to be possibly disruptive to the family because I would have been down there and they were still up north. So again, I had to take that one on the chin a little bit. But I just thought it was the right thing to do, and I've got to say, I've never regretted that decision in all my time. Looking back, it set things up really. I had a really enjoyable first season. Injured a little bit second season, but that was a platform to go and play at Swindon, playing the championship now. So that time around late 90s for me and early noughties, and then even like I said, we've said before, the second spell was different again under Hesse. But I really enjoyed that, and again, I pay credit to Hesse because that wasn't easy. He's gone from a player to a player coach to the manager now, having to make decisions, leave out friends and colleagues. That's not an easy thing to do, and I thought he got that well as well, and so full credit to him. And he didn't change himself. He didn't try and be something he was. He's fundamentally a really nice guy, Hesse, and he didn't start turning around being this and that just because he was a manager and giving it the big I am. I thought he was himself. He was authentic, and a huge amount of respect for him for doing that. So over the two spells, wonderful memories. The fans are fantastic for me, and it's always got a soft spot in my heart for Gillingham. Yeah.
And just finally, is there anything you can tell us which we can broadcast regarding the celebrations after Wigan? Do you remember anything?
No. Or in short answer is no. All I remember is there was at some point in the night that me and Carla Sauber found ourselves in the kitchens of the hotel. The kitchens. I don't know what we found in there. I think we were looking for more alcohol. I don't know
Surely
whether we
not.
found it. Yeah, I don't know whether we actually found it, whether we got in there. I think we got the run of the place. That's the thing. I don't remember being ejected out of there. And then for some reason, I woke up fully clothed on my bed in my room. How I got there at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, and we had to have a shower, do the victory parade, and I still to this day don't know how I got there. No memory of that at all. Let's just say a good time was had by all.
Yeah, great memories. The great memories.
Yeah.
Iffy, thanks very much for your time. I'm sure Gills
You're welcome, Phil.
hearing your thoughts on not just that game, but your career in general, and hopefully we'll speak again in the future.
Thanks, Phil. You're very welcome. Catch you again.